Who's running the show? All right. So for those of you who are on the Zoom session, we have a session now from 8:30 till 11. And then, so I'll give some ideas that we could think about, and then I'll give a guided meditation, and then I'll disappear. So the idea here is you have a good stretch of time to do what we call formal practice, where we put away the kind of complexities of our distracted lives and create a kind of environment where awareness becomes of importance rather than the objects of awareness. So the objective world is something we're always having to deal with in a good or confused or various ways we live in the world. And if we're always preoccupied with the objects of our experience, then we're never available to realize the transcendent. And by objects, it's all experience. So our emotions, or the price of grapes in the marketplace, or from the mundane to the stressful. And this is the objective world we live in, and we have to live in that. And we have to do that well as much as possible. Thing is, then our attention is always into organizing or fixing or appreciating or judging or whatever the experience is. And the transcendent is not an experience per se. So the way we talk about that in Theravada Buddhism, we say there is the unconditioned or the uncreated or the unformed. We also use the word nibbana or nirvana, but I tend not to use that because it's so overused in society. So the language I find more contemplative, I suppose, that makes me really contemplate what that might be. What did the Buddha realize? What do my teachers talk about? Is the unconditioned, the uncreated, the unoriginated. That's the language that really, really appeals to me. And it's not a language that you can figure out with thought. So when like this morning, I said, notice this moment before you think about it. What is it? What's pre-thought? That's pretty easy in terms of understanding. It's not esoteric. Or like this very curious question, how do you know you're alive? But really, so thought would always define it. I'm breathing, I can hear, I can remember whatever, but before thought arises, and you can do that with me now, can't you? Just before thought arises. And okay, well, how would you describe that? Consciousness, awareness, being, presence, doesn't really matter the language. But it's not the object, is it? It's not like the coolness of the wind coming on my back. It's not the color of the blackboard or the little smiley on the blackboard. It's that is included, but it's not that. So the language I've been sort of playing with in the last two retreats is that, like when I ask you that kind of question, what I'm trying to do on a retreat, I think, I'm not sure, is to emphasize awareness rather than the objects of our experience, right? And so this kind of curious language is not the language of analysis. It's a language of noticing, maybe that's the way to put it. Hard to talk about. But so if I say to you, kind of like I can feel the coolness of the window here, very nice. So the coolness, so that's a feeling. So it's awareness separate from that. Now, to do that noticing, I have to be quiet. If I'm thinking, then I'll never know it because I'm not with the experience itself. So before thinking, so again, if you take sound, so I was saying this morning, and for those of you who are on Zoom, whatever sounds you have, we have this, what is it, generator, something going, very obvious, right? So, and now we're not concerned about the quality of the sound or judging it or whatever, just listen, say. And so the language that we quite often use is receptive listening, all right? Now, is awareness separate from that? Like, is awareness one thing, and then the sound another thing? I can't find a separate thing. I don't know about you. But is it the same? No, because there's the knowing of its changing nature. And that's a paradox. Is it the same? No. But is it separate? No. And that paradox takes you to silence, I think. And it seems to me that whatever the unconditioned, the uncreated, the unoriginated, the unborn might be, it must be something about that. Because everything else is changing. You know, my emotions and my thoughts and my memories and my needs and my cup of coffee's gone. The potatoes are gone and breakfast is gone, came and went. That was all very nice. So the entry into this kind of consideration is not, it's not manufactured, first of all. You're trying to manufacture something. It's not constructed. It's not something you analyze your way into, like solving a mathematical problem. It's not like that, or balancing the books. It's what I would say is what we mean by awakening. And then that you just like, whatever way you know, like, what is it? What does it mean to be alive? And then you just stop. And to me, that seems what taking refuge in Buddha means, awakened, like that. Now, first of all, I don't know if that works for you. You have to try it yourself. But let's say you accept that that's an interesting hypothesis, or it's an interesting way to look at it, or okay. Then what happens is, of course, that's very hard to sustain. And what happens is the objective world, usually thought, emotion, memory, starts to preoccupy your attention. And that preoccupation of attention then means you're always out into experience, which it's not a moral issue. You have to be with experience. But what is spirituality? And what is that? How do we touch that? So then we need perhaps some kind of exercises of being with objects, but not really be worried about the object or the outcome of our exercise, but just sustain the sense of presence. And that's what meditation is for me. It's not I'm not, like the word concentration, I don't find very helpful now in describing meditation. To me, it's too, and words are just words. I don't know how language is language, but language is important. It is very important. So if I'm using the sewing machine in the monastery and the thread is popped out of the needle, my eyes are okay, but they're not, I'm not 25. So, getting the thread into the needle takes a lot of concentration. You have to get the thing wet and go in. So that's not what I'm doing in meditation. I don't know if you are. That, to me, that's a hard focus, and it's a valid thing to do. But my sense of it is more, I'm trying to, how can I sustain this sense of presence? And what might I do? And so if I choose an object of meditation, my concern is about awareness rather than the object itself. Now, objects of meditation are helpful. Like, I'm not going to, my object of meditation isn't going to be Fox News, because it'll be pretty hard to be neutral and not screwed up by that. So obviously, objects of meditation have have some importance. And that's very much your character, your personality, what appeals to you. So say, like, we talked about this often, that he's very good at visualizing. And Viradhammo series done a lot of practices of visualizing all kinds of things from the Indian tradition of bhakti, so on. I can't visualize a pencil. I ask people, and my question to everyone is, can you visualize a green apple? Can you do it? And they say, yeah, I can't do it. So my mind has no capacity for visualizing. Doesn't mean I need, I don't need therapy for this. But so that kind of meditation, when I saw it, I said, how is it possible? Is it possible? And then I meet other people, oh, it's easy. So it does kind of depend on your character. And other people I've met who they don't find anapanasati very helpful because they get into controlling their breath, and they don't like that. And so they like maybe a sense of space, kind of oceanic imagery. Other people, you give them that oceanic imagery, and they just get lost in a kind of distracted state of mind. So we can have preferences, but it's not about a technique. It's more like, how does your mind work? What kind of objects of awareness would help you calm the mind, collect the mind, and compose the mind? That sort of abilities to sustain presence for long periods of time. And then you have to figure it out for yourself. So if a teacher gives you a technique which doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean you can't meditate, obviously. It's just not your technique, not your way of doing it. But at some point, you do go beyond the technique, because now the mind has some sense of calm. And I would call that samma samadhi, that kind of sense of composure. And now there's enough parami, there's a foundation of being able to really inquire in this way. What is it? What is it that's unchanging? And then your mind is constantly taken back into silence. So you begin to appreciate, that sort of Luang Por means this is my real home. Or the kind of enigmatic phrase, the mind knowing the mind. All that starts to make a lot of sense in the way you're doing it. And one of the things that I think is terribly important is the heart, and that the compassion or kindness is I see it more and more like metta bhavana and anapanasati say, or metta and mindfulness are really one thing. I don't see them as separate, because how could I really be aware of everything as it is without having some sense of acceptance and openness? So when we learn about metta bhavana in Theravada Buddhism, it can be presented as a kind of prayerful practice where I'm sending metta to other beings, which is fine. It's very dualistic, but I've never learned it that way in Thailand. The way I learned it was an attitude of awareness. Not that the other cannot have some. It's beneficial to do that. It's wonderful. But what if it's just an attitude? An attitude that presence is inclusive rather than discriminatory. So intellect discriminates, thought makes a difference. Metta doesn't. Metta includes everything. And that to me seems to what awareness should be about. It includes. Now, morality and right living is about discriminating, saying, I won't do that, I'll do this. That's fine, we have that. But first and foremost, to enter into the way things are, it seems to me that metta or kindness or loving kindness or openness or acceptance is very, very important. Do not separate them. So if one's idea of meditation was like control or only one state of mind is suitable, another state of mind isn't suitable, it would lack metta. But if the heart has openness, like the the lady in the sewing shop, right? They just accepted that. And this kind of weird discriminatory perception in my mind. And I didn't judge it. I said, that's interesting. I could have judged it and said, you've been a monk for 45 years. Look at that, pathetic. You don't love everyone. This is kind of, yeah. And we all have that. So that you might, in terms of the kinds of meditation you like to do, where is that? Like in Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, where is that part in your practice? They're very important for me. So what I thought we might do is a kind of pretty rigorous practice of scanning the body, so it'll be quite sort of focused, because it's good to sort of just do some work, as it were, to get ourselves grounded into the present moment. So try that. And I was doing that in the Malaysian retreat, and people said they liked that. But then I'll take it to something which is not so specific, say. So stretch your legs a bit, and then we're going to sit for 45 minutes. My friend has a broken ankle, so I keep trying to get him on a chair, but he's comfortable. All right, everything in the internet line is good?
I think so.
Okay.
I hope so. I'm not there, I'm here.
You're there, right? So I'll set my week clock for 45 minutes. I'll give some instruction. I'll give a lot of instruction. And sort of get the ball going, as it were. Okay. So before thought, before you think about this moment, well, how does it feel to be here now? So description is a thought. We don't really need a description. So there's the temperature in the room, the feeling in the body, the mood of the mind. That without judging or discriminating, life is like this. And the attitude is one of openness, presence, composure. Bring attention to your mouth and feel the sensations in the mouth. So what we're observing are the tactile sensations in the body. Go inside the mouth, feel the floor of the mouth, and let whatever tactile sensations are there, let them come into consciousness. So it's not like you're trying to find a particular, you're not focusing so much as just allowing, but localizing your attention. The roof of the mouth. And each thing that I mention is you're kind of mentioning it to yourself, but each one is a kind of composure into the present moment. The inside left wall of the mouth. Inside right wall. Tactile sensation. So this isn't a concept. You're not thinking about it. You can relax your brain. It's not a visual image. You can relax your eyes. You're not trying to see some part of the body. And even if the body part isn't very sensitive, that's fine too, whatever's there. Feel the lower jaw. Feel the lower lip sensations. Lower teeth and gums. Allow that to be conscious. No thought, no need to think. Upper lip, upper teeth and gums. Mind composed, collected. Feel your tongue. Now the whole area as one vibrating energy center, the whole mouth. Go inside, up into the eardrums, into the ear canals. Feel the inside of the ears, sensations. Now, if you're trying to see something, your eyes are going to get tense and you're not conceptualizing. Feel the outer structures of the ears. Allow attention to rest there. Feel both ears, sensations, radiation. Feel the sensations which are the nose, the bridge of the nose, the movement of breath at the nose. Let that be conscious. Feel the eyes, the orbits, and the eyes themselves resting in the orbits of the bones. The tactile sense. Go behind the eyes into the brain, feel the inside of the brain. Again, you might not feel anything specific, but the idea is to compose attention moment by moment. No thought, no need to think. The stillness of knowing. Feel the forehead, inside the forehead. Sensations, pressures. Draw a line from the forehead into the brain. Feel the inside of the skull. The scalp. Feel the scalp inside the scalp. Receptive awareness. Go to the back of the head. Side the back of the head. Draw a line into the brain. Bring it all together in the head. So feel the mouth, sensation vibrating, radiating, the ears, the nose, the eyes, forehead, scalp, and back of the head, inside the head. Feel the whole head now as a mass of vibrations, sensations, in awareness. Now, this is not a concept now. Go to the back of the neck. Feel the back of the neck, sides of the neck. Feel the throat. Inside the neck. Feel the connection, the left side of the neck to the left shoulder. Let the sensations there become conscious. Let go of thinking. Left arm, upper arm. And the elbow. The left forearm. The left wrist. Back of the left hand. Left thumb. Forefinger, middle finger, ring finger, small finger. Feel the left palm of the hand. Let that be conscious. Feel the whole left hand and wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, and left shoulder. Feel that whole structure as a mass of vibrations and sensations. Feel the right side of the neck connect to the right shoulder. Upper arm, right side. The right elbow. The right forearm. Back of the right hand. Thumb, forefinger, middle finger, ring finger, small finger, palm of the right hand. Feel the whole area of the right hand and wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, right shoulder. Feel that whole area. Shoulder to hand, right side. Feel both arms, not a concept, just as vibrations, both arms. And bring that together, both arms, neck, back of the head, middle of the brain, scalp, forehead, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, tongue. From the hands to the head, one mass of sensations in awareness. Bring attention to your throat through the hollow in the throat, go down inside the chest area. Feel the front of the chest area inside. Feel the left side inside. Sensations on the right side. And the back inside of the chest area. So this whole cavity, vibrations in awareness. Feel the lungs, the diaphragm, and the heart. Feel the whole chest area as one mass of sensations. So again, whatever's there, it is as it is. And down into the abdominal area, feel the belly. Feel the front of the abdominal cavity. Left inside as vibration, as sensation on the right, radiating back of the abdominal area. And the organs, kidneys at the back, liver, small intestine, lung. This whole, it's one mass of vibrations, radiating sensations. And the pelvic area, down to the pelvic area, the pelvic bones. Left side of the pelvic wall. Pelvic wall on the right side. The seats of the pelvis. Back of the pelvis, that whole structure. And then the organs, reproductive organs. So feel that whole area as sensation, vibration. No thought, no need to think. Bring the torso together from pelvis, abdominal area, chest area as one mass of sensations in awareness. And bring that together, the arms, neck, back of the head, top of the head, forehead, inside the head, eyes, nose, ears, mouth. So from the pelvis to the head, one mass of vibrations, sensations. Feel the left hip. Vibrations, pressures. The left thigh. Feel the left knee. And the foreleg. Left ankle. And the left foot. That sensation. The left foot, the bottom of the left foot, the top of the left foot. And then bring that together. Foot, ankle, lower leg, knee, upper leg, thigh, hip, left side. Right side, the right hip. And the thigh. The right knee, lower leg, right side, vibrations, becoming conscious. Right ankle, top of the right foot, sole of the right foot. And that all together, foot, ankle, lower leg, knee, thigh, hip, right side. Both legs, from the feet to the hips. Torso, pelvis to chest, arms, neck, and head. Back of the head, top of the head, forehead, eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. So feel the whole body now as, not as a concept, but as sensations in awareness. Now, is awareness separate from the body feeling? Is awareness one thing and the bodily feeling another thing? Is it separate? But is it the same? Or is it distinct, knowing? So into your mind, bringing the thought, I am in thought. Bring that down through your throat. I am, feel it through the throat. And then bring it to the chest, to the heart. I am. Now let go of am, I. And let go of I. Welcome home. So if you need to do something, you can just abide as awareness there. Or if you need to do something, then return to that pattern. And then bring it to the sense of presence and let go. So I'll leave the instructions there and we'll sit for the rest of the time in silence. Stretch your legs a bit. I'll say a few words on walking meditation. Just stretch. If I wanted the folk on Zoom to chant suffusion with divine abidings, how could we get that message to them? Can Bob send them the text somehow?
Right now?
No, like this during the retreat sometime.
Oh, yeah, I can get Anne to send that message.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's suffusion with divine abidings, which would be, I think 43 would be the English. I will abide, pervade. You know that one? Yeah, very nice. So if people could get that, we could chant that. So, just talk a bit about posture. So most of you know that I kind of encourage people to learn lying down meditation, and because I found it a very, Margie, you found it very profitable too. Many of us have found it very profitable posture. So it's not a posture to help you fall asleep, because if meditation becomes a posture to help you fall asleep, that's not going to be good. So it's actually a posture you want to use when you have lots of energy, rather than, you know, sometimes people think, well, I use meditation to fall asleep. Just think about that. That's not going to give a good result. So it's not about so much like some kind of relaxation exercise. It's also a brightening. You know, it's a clarity of mind. So samadhi has both clarity and composure. It has both. So if you get too soporific, that's not going to work. So just, you've heard me repeat this lying down meditation many, many times. But for those of you who haven't heard or thought about that, so I came across lying meditation from a yoga teacher called Richard Miller, who teaches Yoga Nidra. He's a very, very good teacher. And a lot of my ideas actually come from him. So with lying meditation, the way I've learned it is that you find a comfortable platform to lie on. So this would be too hard for me, because I like to do lying meditation for a couple of hours. I mean, you can really extend your formal posture for a long, long time. I can't do it now with my knees because I've had 2 arthroscopies in my knees. I can't do that. So it's a posture which, like, you know, I'll be meditating in the morning, a couple of hours doing Yoga Nidra, and so for me, this would be too hard. But some people like it hard so they don't fall asleep. So there is that too. The most important thing for me has been to lie down in Sarvasana. So the legs are kind of hip distance apart, and the arms are on the ground. Nice and relaxed and open, very open. But what I found most important is to get the knees raised so that the knees aren't flat out, but they actually have some arc in them. And so I put a bolster or a pillow or a couple of pillows even. I know one person that actually meditates with her feet flat. Knees up. She finds it really good for the back. So if your knees are flat, pretty quick, it's hard in the back. So you play around with that. And then the neck, I found when I started, I had my neck was too high. I started to get a crick in my neck. So you think about it when you're doing sitting posture, your neck is in, isn't it? The back of your head's kind of. So you want to replicate that in the lying posture. There are yoga teachers here who could maybe give better instruction. But that's what I found helpful. And then the instruction which I got was to not move. And the preliminary to that instruction was adjust your posture 10%. And that was actually quite a good idea, because as soon as you lay down, within 10 seconds, you think you have to move. You don't. Logically, there's nothing wrong, because it's the body, you try to get the perfect posture. So the suggestion, okay, now adjust your posture 10% or 15%. So you've mentally done that, and now don't move. Now don't move. So then you're in the posture, and then very quickly you want to move. You think, oh, I could get it. I could, I could sort of, and then what you're doing is you're reacting to your restlessness. So that restlessness is located in the body and in the mind. And so you're using that very restlessness by not moving as a way of deepening your presence, your meditation. Very clever. So the very thing that you're trying to get rid of, as it were, you now notice. You want to scratch, you want to move your shoulder a bit, you want to adjust your posture. I had my 15%, thank you very much. And now just stay with it. So this isn't a kind of rigid demand that you not move, but then the intention not to move makes you very, very mindful of the body. At least that's what I find. And then you just try to use that, in this body sweeping that I did, like whole body meditation, body as sensation rather than body as thought or concept. So kind of a deep body awareness. And then anything that comes up should deepen your awareness. So if it's emotion, fine. Thought, fine. It's just you deepening your sense of presence. So people fall asleep. Right? But that's okay too. One thing which happens if you fall asleep, quite often you'll hear yourself snoring. And very interesting. As you get your first snort, that kind of thing. Actually, your mind has dipped into something more tranquil. That's what's happening. You're actually relaxing, and if you're mindful of that, oh yeah, you get the sense of the mind dipping into something more peaceful. Now, if you do fall asleep, what you'll find is you want to roll over on your side. And a lot of people actually find that difficult, not to roll over on their sides, because we're so compelled by that posture. Been doing it for 75 years, right? That not moving over seems to be very difficult. But don't move. So then you start to feel this impulse to roll over, and that's the impulse to annihilate consciousness, to go to sleep, to get rid of consciousness, to not be there. And it's not aversion, it's just the way we function. So you notice that desire to move, and you don't move. And each time you do that, it deepens your stillness, and you really come to that silence in the back of the mind more and more. So if you have difficulty sleeping, let's say you're here and you get up at 3 a.m. or something, 4 a.m, then could go to the washroom, brush your teeth, come back and go back to bed. But now you do yoga nidra. As opposed to say 4 o'clock, oh, it's not 5 yet. Oh gosh, shut up, your alarm clock. Or you can roll around for an hour with quite negative states of mind. And those negative states of mind, you're still creating karma in some mental way. It's not vast. You won't be reborn in hell for that one. but you still, the mind is still engaging in negative thinking patterns. So if you change, and then and maybe like you wake up at 3 or 4, you don't really want to sit, and your knees are maybe not up for it or whatever. So then you begin to use that posture. I use that a lot. Like sometimes I'll be up at 3 and oh yeah, let's meditate. But it's not once you get used to it, it's not difficult physically. Like I find with my knees, it's difficult to kind of sit for long periods of time. So I think it's very profitable for those of us who are getting younger. So my best stories is in Thailand. I was teaching retreat 2-3 years ago, and there's a gentleman who had cancer. It was he was in palliative care, I think. Like not in a hospice, but it was there was no more treatment, I think, if I remember correctly. And he said he couldn't meditate anymore. So I said, well, try lying meditation. He did it that night. He said, I can meditate again. Mm-hmm. You know, as a teacher, it was it was such a lovely gift. So do give it a go. And then if you're teaching yoga and things like that, and you have elderly people who can't sit cross-legged or find a chair difficult, see if you can teach them that. To teach it, you have to learn it yourself, right? You have to do it right. So in these sessions in the afternoon or in the morning, if you want to try sitting and lying, please do, right? And then the walking meditation, as you know, it's you establish the posture is the path as well. So you have a path of 20, 30 paces, whatever you like. And like the posture is the container, isn't it? It's the vehicle that you're meditating in. And you don't change the vehicle all the time. So the posture in walking meditation is the path, is the ends of the path. So by walking 20, 30 paces, even if you're planning whatever you're planning or worrying whatever you're worrying, by the end of the path, you should notice that actually it's the end of the path, unless especially if you put a tree there. It becomes even more apparent. So the ends of the path break up the thinking pattern. That's the logic of it. And if you do that carefully, and then at the end of the path, you just come to this sense of whatever language you like. I kind of enjoy this language of, what is it that lets me know I'm alive? It's something like a little koan like that. Or it's like this if you want to make it more simple. And then you're there again. Now that's not something you're creating. That's something that's there all the time. It's more like reflecting on it, remembering it as an experience rather than remembering it as a memory. It's not a memory. And then you turn around and do the same thing. Oh, it's like this. And you keep coming to the is that what apperception means before you think? I see that word a lot. Does anyone? It's one of those words that teachers use to confuse everyone. Before you think. Before thought, what's this moment like? Now, if you do that for 45 minutes at each end of the path, you're really chopping up the sense of self being created through thought. Right? And as you do that, you notice, that's an object too. The whole drama of self-thinking is an object in awareness. And so the awareness is strengthened. And then the awareness is the gateway to the unconditioned. So it's very mundane in some sense, but it's actually aspiring to that which is transcendent. So whatever the thoughts are, you're not judging them, you're not getting rid of them. And then, of course, if you have strong emotional content, then you can just stop and feel your body. If there's some really difficult thing you've just been through, and that happens on retreats, stuff comes up, doesn't it? So it's coming up, okay, this is what horrible feels like. Or this is what being betrayed feels like, or this is what loss feels like, something very, very powerful. Just say it. Just say it to yourself. This is horrible. I want to go home. And this is the feeling of wanting to go home. So you're always engaging with whatever the experience is, whether it's mundane or profoundly disturbing, awareness still knows it. Awareness still knows it because awareness is the container. And trust in that. I would say trust in that. Probably the biggest addiction we have as meditators is analysis. You thought it was going to be coffee, didn't you? It's true, isn't it? You know, if you think about it, how much time we spend in analyzing, kind of parsing things and dicing them up, and why do they do this? It's kind of the addiction of the intellect, and all of us read a lot, we think a lot, and our livelihoods are probably dependent on thought, analysis, processing things. But this isn't the same. It's not like you're trying to figure out why you feel upset. No, you just feel upset. And make it really, really simple. Now, I'm not, one can go to the source of things, but usually that's really not necessary. Sometimes if you have when people have extreme conditions like PTSD, then analysis and therapist and all that is very important, very important. But for your average sort of mundane neuroses that we all garden variety stuff, trust and awareness, and then see does your mind need to analyze and thinking about it. What's that about? And rather than doing that, this analysis feels this way. So it's not even a judgment about analysis. It's not saying it's wrong, and you can do it if you want, but see if we can enter into this before thought. What does a feeling of horrible feel like before thought, before narrative, before story? And then that allows the what we call vipaka kamma, the resultant kamma of our lives, not necessarily, not about previous lives, just the resultant kamma of family life and whatever, that comes into consciousness, but we no longer identify with it. We're still responsible for it. Still, like, your memories are different than my memories, obviously. But awareness itself is not a memory. And that's why it's the gateway to the unconditioned. So the preoccupation with memory and thought is problematic if you preoccupy with it. But if you know it as an object, then it's the same sound. And so the question I put to you earlier, is awareness separate from thought? Is there like a thinker and thought? That's something I don't want you to answer, like, except in your own meditation. I find that suggestion very powerful, because what happens with the thinking process is you're kind of involved in some plan of yours, and there's some narrative going on. And then when you awaken to that, you notice that that's going on. Quite often there's a judgment. There's a sense of I shouldn't be thinking. And then you try to meditate to not be the thinker, which is actually, I think, an error, because the thinking comes up. Because if you were the thinker, then you would start your meditation saying, no thinking. Thank you very much. I don't think I'll think. So what is thought is a natural phenomenon that arises through various kind of memory stimuli. Nothing wrong with it. But how can you get to the silence, touch the silence, which is always there, and maybe try that suggestion. Like, is awareness separate from thought? Yeah. Try it. It's very interesting. So I guess that's a whole bunch. The first few days is a whole bunch of ideas, and then I'll be quiet to get things rolling. I know it's a lot to take in, but I think they're helpful. So let's we'll just carry on then. So there'll be a bell. What time are the bells ringing?
I think that one of the dawn attendants will ring a bell at 11 for us to come into the dining room for the.
And what time should we be down there? At 11?
About
Just before?
a little bit before 11. Yeah.
Like 5 to, sort of.
5 to.
Okay.